text which can find in the big book concerning Nietzsche. That is, Heidegger says that finally we can define metaphysics by the potency of the one. So it's not only forgetting being and so on, it's more precise. The organization of the potency of the one, that is metaphysics. Okay, so if I love weakness and not potency, like Lacan said, I have to love multiplicity and not the one, and not the big potency of the one. So I propose an ontology of the pure multiplicities. And if we have an ontology of the pure multiplicity, the difficulty is that we have without one. So multiplicity of what? Not of elements. Multiplicity of multiplicities, like Slavoj. And it's at this point that I search in the direction of mathematics. Only at these points, when my conviction is that contemporary ontology is by necessity an ontology of multiplicities. It's not mine only, it's also the conviction of Deleuze and many others, against the potency of the one, and radically, that is, multiplicity is multiplicities of multiplicities. And so there is no stopping point in the analysis of multiplicity. If something stops, we are in the void. There is nothing at all. Because if there is something, something is a multiplicity. So the connection between multiplicity and the void is not a duality, a metaphysical duality. Void is the immanent nothingness which is inside the multiplicity as the multiplicity of multiplicities. Okay? So that is my choice. And after that, in this framework, we have to understand the possibility of something new, and so it's the theory of an event and so on. We cannot explain all that today. The point, the very important point, is that the element of pure decision, the personal element, has been the conviction that in the contemporary situation, the context to examine the possibility of something new is an ontology of multiplicities, of pure multiplicities. That is multiplicity without one. This point is very, very, very important. Biographically, naturally, one says that why is the question of novelty? It was certainly first by political education at the light of May '68, so something uprising like very condition of true life. So the conviction that a true life cannot be a life inside repetition. But it's a very general biographical point, I think. I think is really many subjects, the conviction of whom is that true life is repetition. It's a point of view of the state. It's a point of view of the order itself. The power loves repetition. But a thinking which cannot be ordered by the power is by necessity a thinking of disrupting the repetition itself.
Can I just now to return to his question, because so would you agree with him? His, if I got you correctly, point was the following one. So now, sorry if I speak as a police interrogator. So now you admitted that you had first some kind of existential decision, how to think something new and so on, and based on that, you violently picked out one mathematical theory among others. The reasons were not to be naive, you look around which theory is better or whatever. You simply picked out of the multiplicity of mathematical theories the one which fits this. His reproach, if I got it correctly, is, aren't you here close to some kind of anti-philosophical gesture? And if I may just, and then I give it to you, very brief remark, really brief. You know where maybe there is a difference between us? There is no one. We agree here. But for me, this is not just a fact there is no one, but this is a positive obstacle. The one always fails. The failure of one, which gives us two, but not the two of this Oriental bullshit, yin-yang imbalance. So my problem would be, I put it in very abstract terms. I would like to have in your multiplicity already some form of the two. Two is crucial. I agree here with you. Often emphasize. I stop here.
Well, it's a technical question. Maybe it's a too technical question.
Oh, okay.
Precisely, the form of the two in the pure multiplicity is a distinction between element and party, element and subset.
Yeah.
And the distinction between how a subset in the set and how an element in the set inscribes in the multiplicity itself a fundamental duality. And the development of this duality is of capital importance in being an event, naturally, because finally it's also the question of the state, the question of the excess, and also the question of what is a generic set, that is the ontological form of a truth. But yes, I agree with the question, naturally. When I am in the question, how can I think a multiplicity which is a multiplicity of multiplicities, and if I do a choice in different possibilities in set theory, my choice will be Zermelo-Fraenkel theory of sets, and not a theory of sets with atoms, which exists too. So there exists some theory of sets where elements are atoms, so with one inside the multiplicity. So I take a theory of sets without atoms, c'est-à-dire without one. And so after that, we have that sort of dialectics, singular dialectics between multiplicity and the void, and not between multiplicity and the one. That is certainly a technical choice because, in fact, it is possible to construct a theory of sets in the mathematical field with atoms. Parce que it's not the choice of Democrite or Epicure. It's not multiplicity of atoms and the void. That is very important. It's in immanent dialectics of multiplicity and the void by the mediation of the fact that multiplicity is always multiplicity of multiplicities. But in the classical atomistic materialism, it's not the case. Because in atomistic materialism, multiplicity is multiplicity of ones, atoms. And the void is a general context in which we have atoms, precisely. So it's not that sort of atomistic materialism, it's something else, but naturally it's a choice. But it's a choice which is, I think, not really biographical, existential, or a tragic choice, like the question for Kierkegaard of marriage. It's not exactly like the question of Kierkegaard of marriage with Regine. It's a more quiet question and more technical. It is why I don't think that it is really a trace of Anti-Philosopher.
There are two hands being raised there. Maybe we can.
Alors the two.
The two. We should the two.
Come up and take a microphone. No, I don't need a microphone. But the rest of the people need it. Oh, can I hear me? No.
Yes.
Following your remarks, do you really think that class struggle must continue in the dark? I understand class struggle as real, and the Bartleby politics that Mr. Žižek refers to, I prefer not to. But is there not some way to teach the act? I mean, maybe not in a university setting or as discourse, but in the Mojave Desert now we run workshops called The New Everyday Life, where we teach leatherworking and biodiesel mechanics and beer making and things like this. Does this fall into neo-anarchism, like Simon Critchley or something? Must we seize the state to have a pure act, or can we teach the act on a smaller scale?
No, first, I was accused, among others, by our good friend Peter Holward, who said that I'm inconsistent. Sometimes I say, do nothing, wait. Sometimes I wait for some big suicidal act. Sometimes I propose pragmatic measures. Can't I decide? Well, I find this reproach totally nonsensical. It's like reproaching me, yesterday you ate a hamburger, today a pizza, can't you decide? No, fuck you, why should I decide? I mean, I'm very precise here, there are situations where, and I quote you, that when doing something just contributes, even if it's critical to reproduction of the existing, where the most violent thing, as I repeat, is to do nothing. There are obvious situations where a great collective act is needed, and there are situations totally honorable, why not, when small patient work is needed. So my first reply here is quite an opportunistic one, not opportunistic in the sense of political opportunism, but I think to try to press us on this choice. What do you advocate? Doing nothing, preparing big revolution, or patient everyday work? Why impose a choice here? It's a strategic question. Now, you mentioned a certain obscene name that I prefer not to enter, Critchley and so on. No, my problem with that one is simply that what he describes is for me a way too comfortable position. I don't think you have the right to say there is the state out there, but I want to remain outside. And I mean, it's for me too close to the position of the beautiful soul, and so on and so on. I think that we should nonetheless insist, and this is the being faithful to the idea of communism, that nonetheless we should, as they say, sub specie aeternitatis, that you observe reality through the lenses of the idea, an eternal idea, that communism should be the idea through which we judge what is going on today. And that's my basic. Here then I leave you all the opportunism, in a good sense, opportunism, improvise, teach, in